Hello and welcome to our webinar on the critical global implications of genocide, veriticide, medicide, and ecocide in Palestine, organized by the Global South Exchange Network in partnership with Palestinian Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability. For brevity, I will refer to the Global South Exchange Network as GSEN, and the Palestinian Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability at PIBS. I'm Clara Al-Qasami, founder and coordinator of GSEN. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Mazin Qumsiyeh, Director of the Institute of Biodiversity and Sustainability. Today's program includes a brief introduction from me, a 40-minute lecture, and a 15-minute Q&A session. First, a few housekeeping points. The chat is muted, and if you have questions, please put them in the question box with your or your organization's name, or you can submit them anonymously. We will try and answer as many as we can. Please keep the questions short and precise without long preambles to allow for more questions to be taken in the short time we have. We are recording this webinar for those not able to attend today and others who are interested in the topic. We also kindly request that all participants are respectful to each other to ensure a welcoming and inclusive environment for discussion. We do not accept abuse or harassment of any kind. So, moving on. What is GSEN and why this lecture? GSEN is a dynamic collective of cultural heritage experts dedicated to fostering global South-South cooperation, aiming to empower regions in the South through shared knowledge and resources. For the purpose of framing GSEN, the term Global South refers to peoples and cultures originating in the following parts of the globe: Africa, Asia and the Pacific, Arab and Latin America and the Caribbean regions, and those from the Global South living in the Global North. The network was launched in February 2024 by 9 individuals, some of whom are present here today. I am sure they would not mind me calling them out. Shireen Allen, immediate past president of ICOMOS Palestine, Dr. Hossam Mahdi, specialist in vernacular architecture, an independent consultant and president of the International Committee of Vernacular Architecture at ICOMOS, Dr. Bijan Rouhani, senior researcher at the Oxford University, UK, and vice president of the International Scientific Committee on Risk Preparedness at ICOMOS. So you see, we are still a young collective of volunteers, punching above our weight in drawing attention to critical issues for the cultural sector to address. In the past year, GSEN's core membership has increased to more than 40 and is growing fast, and has a good following from younger or emerging heritage professionals. GSEN seeks to expand the scope of South-South cooperation to include transversal mutual support and exchanges in the management of cultural heritage between countries and regions in the South. This kind of cooperation is not a new concept and has existed since the late 60s and is supported by key international organizations such as United Nations and the World Bank. Other long-standing international structures within the Global South, including the African Union, ASEAN in Southeast Asia, and CARICOM in the Caribbean, consider it necessary for the promotion of regional and territorial peace, as well as political, economic, and social development cooperation based on equality, mutual benefit, and respect for sovereignty. GSEN's core aim is to extend the South-South model to the cultural heritage sphere through the development of an international network of individuals committed to creating culturally sensitive frameworks and models for heritage management. It considers this to be essential if the Global South is to create its own research, training, and development resources and repositories, and thereby remove the dependency on cultural aid, archival, educational, intellectual resources in the North. The rapid developments in the digital technology, in particular AI, make this even more urgent. It is important to stress the South-South cooperation that GSEN promotes is not about replacing the North-South arrangement, which has and continues to contribute to capacity building programs, development, and cultural grant aid through the international cultural and educational agencies and NGOs. Instead, the network will offer the global majority in the South, who make up 80% of the world's population, the opportunity and space to define and develop appropriate self-sustaining solutions for their own cultural heritage needs on their own terms, with support from the North as necessary. In fact, this approach should facilitate the advancement of existing international cultural instruments, such as the 1964 Venice Charter, 1972 World Heritage Convention, the 2003 Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage, the United Nations rights-based approaches, and the Sustainable Development Goals, for example, by making them relevant for the people of the South. It will also simultaneously facilitate the creation of local, new frameworks and models which are responsive to the diverse regional needs in the areas of education, skills, knowledge, research, practice, technology, and repositories associated with the management of tangible and intangible cultural heritage. So why this lecture? Two key aims underpin this event. First, the need to interrupt the silence that has prevailed in the international, regional, and national cultural heritage sectors over the erasure of heritage and its carriers and owners, the people of Gaza, and the flouting of international instruments relating to cultural heritage and human rights and sustainability over the last 2 years. Although there have been statements issued, especially lately, however, statements without discussion, debates, and actions become rhetoric and meaningless. The prevailing silence has in turn silenced many heritage professionals, scholars, and indigenous and living heritage communities across the globe from speaking, writing, or raising awareness about it. It has also invited criticism about double standards being applied to conflicts between the global North and the South. Second, the need to create a holistic approach in the reconstruction of the cultural heritage in situations like Gaza and other places in the global South, such as Congo, Sudan, Myanmar, for example, which have and continue to witness genocide, displacement of people, human rights abuse, along with the erasure of physical and living heritage. Far too often, the direction is that the reconstruction should focus exclusively on heritage to keep it apolitical. Professor Qumsiyeh at PIBS, on the other hand, argues that a holistic approach requires an understanding of the relationship between humanity, human rights, cultural heritage, environment, and history, and that it is essential for the reconstruction of Gaza and long-term peace in Palestine and globally. Gazen is grateful to the professor for agreeing to share his experience and expertise with us today, and the support and partnership he and his colleagues have offered us in hosting this event. Professor Mazin Qumsiyeh is founder and director of the Palestinian Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability at Bethlehem University. He previously worked in the USA at Tennessee, Duke, and Yale universities. He's a life scientist, teacher, and activist for peace, nonviolence, and the sustainability of human and natural communities, realized by understanding them as an integrated whole and equally threatened by war, economic imperialism, and neocolonialism, and the denial of human rights. He was nominated for the Global Peace Prize in 2025. Professor, welcome. The floor is yours. Off you go.
Thank you very much, Clara, and thank you for the Global South Exchange Network. My major advisor used to tell me, just at the beginning of your talk, tell them what you're going to tell them, then explain it, then at the end, tell them what you just told them. So I will start with the bottom line. The bottom line is we humans, are facing a catastrophic, cataclysmic situation, and that we, especially in the Global South, who have been the victims of colonialism for so many decades and hundreds of years in some cases, we have a responsibility as well as, I would say, a duty to resist and to change. And this requires the kind of networking that you are promoting in GSEN. It requires this kind of events where we get our hands together, get our minds together to think of what's the best way to save ourselves and our planet. So the bottom line is the danger is very, very high. The risks are high. The stakes are high, but there is a chance of saving ourselves and our planet if we get together. This is the bottom line. Now, those of you who wanted to hear the bottom line can log off if you want, but I will, I will proceed to try and show you some things. So I'll share my screen. I hope you can see my screen now. And sorry, I need the PowerPoint. There we go, make it full screen. Okay, so basically my own background, as you mentioned, involved working at a number of universities, a number of institutions, traveling around the world. I was lucky enough to speak in 47 countries so far, and and we have a very large network on our email list of about 55,000 people as a result of this networking and of this activism that I've been doing for many decades. Part of it is my own age. I'm old. So I end up doing a lot of things like writing books also about popular resistance in Palestine, available in many languages, or sharing the land of Canaan, also available in languages. Now, just quickly about Palestine and why Palestine may be important for the global South in general, and why you see Palestinian flags now in Brazil, for example, at the climate change conference. You see them in the World Social Forums. You see them in demonstrations around the world. Why is Palestine such an important point? Well, for one thing, humans migrated to the rest of the world through Palestine, out of Africa, hypotheses, if you want, about human migrations. And so all humanity, or most humanity today, except those who stayed in Africa, trace their ancestors to people who left Africa through Palestine, because it's a bottleneck, a land bottleneck. And even birds today, 500 million birds, migrate through Palestine annually from Eurasia to Africa. Palestine is also important, not just because of this history, it's also part of what's called the Fertile Crescent, the western part of the Fertile Crescent, where humans first developed agriculture, where we first domesticated plants and animals, domesticating plants like olives and wheat and barley and lentils and chickpeas and so on. This allowed for humans to develop settled communities and increase their numbers. This is the agricultural revolution, if you want. And this increase in number allowed them to live in settled villages and towns, which changed the political dynamic and structure of the political arrangements for humanity. So we developed things like city-states, later kingdoms and empires and so on. And also when people were in settled communities, they developed basically elements which today we call civilization, quote unquote. I say elements that define civilization. I don't say civilization because I am not very sure that humans are completely civilized yet. They need a lot of work. But anyways, things like art and music and law and forms of governance were all first created in the Fertile Crescent, in this land that's called now the cradle of civilization. These people, my ancestors, here's what we look like if you want. I'm more modern looking, wearing a shirt, but that's how my grandparents wore these kinds of clothes. These are the indigenous people of Palestine. Palestine was also important, another fifth reason, if you want, for why Palestine is important globally, is because it's center of development of religions. I won't go into why this happened in Palestine, but there's a lot of religions that consider Palestine an important and a holy land. That includes Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Baha'i, others, Druze, etc. We have always been in Palestine multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious, and even multilingual, by the way. This is a picture from Palestine 1932, which shows religious and secular leaders getting together to object to Zionism and object to the Balfour Declaration, the British declaration in support of Zionism. Now, why would those people, as you see them in the picture, object to the Balfour Declaration and to Zionism? What is this Zionism is? Well, Zionism is a simple idea. It says Palestine is multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious, multilingual even. 44 languages spoken in Palestine before 1948. That's what Palestine is, but we don't like it. We want to change it. We want to make it the Jewish state of Israel. That's what we want to call it. This is as simple as I can put you the idea of Zionism. It's an exclusivist, racist, and genocidal idea. Because obviously, how are you going to change a pluralistic society that looks like this into a Jewish state? The only way to do it is via ethnic cleansing. So this is indeed what happened, and you can read Ilan Pape's book, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine, which explains how, for example, those villages, the red dots on the map on the right, were ethnically cleansed to create the Jewish state of Israel. This is what we Palestinians call the beginning of the Nakba. Nakba means catastrophe, which is the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. This continued, of course, methodically and systematically and intentionally to remove the rest of the population from Palestine. And that happens in stages, as you saw also happen in countries like the United States of America with the European colonization and how the indigenous people ended up in Bantustans or ghettos or reservations, as they called them in the US. This is displacement settler colonialism, and displacement settler colonialism is very, very common around the world, with the exception of those 4 or 5 things I mentioned earlier for the uniqueness of Palestine. For example, the religious dimension, where more than 65% of the world population consider Palestine a holy place, an important place. Sorry, not 60, 55% of the world population. That's Muslims and Christians and Jews, of course. But anyways, this is what transpired here. I'm going to skip some slides because I don't want to talk about the symptoms too much. I will mention here's a summary of the symptoms for the genocide and ethnic cleansing. And bottom line is, so far, since 1948, over 500,000 Palestinian natives have been killed, butchered, or disease that denied medical services. Over 1.3 million have been injured, resulting in disabilities like eyes or limb missing and things like that. Over 1 million of us have been detained and imprisoned, including yours truly. There's 8.5 million of us who are refugees or displaced people have lost their homes and lands. This is the bottom line for the genocide and ethnic cleansing. But this is not really the subject I want to talk about a lot, nor describe the symptoms of it. That's why I skipped slides. I want to focus on another kind of thing, which is the ecocide. But before that, I want to tell you there is a scholasticide, destruction of our educational system. For example, all 12 colleges and universities in Gaza were destroyed. Over 1,200 university students and high college students were killed. Over 240 faculty were killed at those universities. There's a veriticide, and the number actually now is 254 journalists who were killed in this in the last 2 years alone. So Israel is engaging in genocide, and scholasticide also killed journalists to try and kill the truth. And that's more journalists killed in the past 2 years than in all the wars before that for the past 120 years, basically First World War, Second World War, Vietnam, Korea, all these things. There's a medicide, there's destruction of the medical services. For example, in Gaza, just about every medical facility was attacked, and most of the hospitals were destroyed and so on. There's a cultural genocide, destruction of over 900 mosques, attack on 3 churches. One church, the oldest church in the Holy Land, basically is damaged in Gaza significantly. Christians have been killed who were sheltering in the church. There's attack on the museums, and most of the museums and archaeological sites in Gaza were destroyed, so I call this cultural genocide. The subject I do want to spend a bit more time on is the ecocide. And for the ecocide, of course, you know that this is a global phenomenon, not a local phenomenon merely. And I'll come again and explain why the genocide of Palestine is also not a local phenomenon when I explain the connectivity of all these things. But the ecocide, as you know, we have climate change, habitat destruction, pollution, overexploitation, invasive species, and settler colonialism. All 6 of these things are damaging to the environment. I don't need to explain to you, for example, how much damage to the environment of countries that became known as Australia and the United States of America have happened thanks to the European invasion, be it with the destruction of native forests like in the US, or the killing of 2 to 3 million buffaloes in the US, or introduction of invasive species and reshaping the country, destroying its rivers and so on to make it more Europeanized country. This is classic that ecocide is part and parcel. Here I want to remind you of what my initial summary of my talk is, that basically this is a global phenomena and a global response is needed, especially from the global south, enforcing the global north to comply and end its colonization and greed. If you look at climate change, for example, climate change is caused by, of course, human activities related to greed and the billionaires getting richer, and the military, of course, and so on. Let me just show you a couple of examples from Palestine of the ecocide that we face that have a global impact also. Israel uprooted over 530 Palestinian villages and towns, but they didn't just uproot the people, and the term uproot is actually appropriate here. They uprooted the trees also. They destroyed millions of Palestinian trees. And they planted one kind of tree, which is pine tree, a European pine tree, Pinus halepensis. And this pine tree happens to be susceptible to fires, so we see fires all the time in the places that they replaced the Palestinian polyculture culture of different species of trees, like both domestic trees, like olives and figs and almonds. They destroyed all of that. And also the wild trees like oaks and hawthorns and carobs. And they planted this one kind of monoculture tree, pine tree, that's very devastating for biodiversity, shed acidic leaves that don't allow even undergrowth regeneration of the forest. But they also are susceptible to fires, and you can see here fires in West Jerusalem in an ethnically cleansed Palestinian village no longer exists there. That's on the top of the hill is a settlement, but the Palestinian hill is gone. Palestinian trees are gone. The pine trees that they planted to cover up their crime, after they burned, they exposed the terraces, which you can see the terraces that our ancestors built over thousands of years there. This is just across the valley here, Jabal Abu Ghnaim Hill used to be a forested area between Bethlehem and Jerusalem, and now it's a concrete jungle, basically Jewish-only colony. And you can see the change from 1997 till today. We publish research papers on this, like decline in vertebrate biodiversity. This destruction goes on unabated. Of course, Palestinians try to resist it. The other thing that the Zionists did, as all colonialists, they want to destroy lives and livelihood of the local people. So in our case, for example, they diverted the water of the Jordan River basin from Lake Tiberias to the west to deny the people in the Jordan Valley the ability to grow vegetables and fruits like we did for thousands of years. Jericho, for example, in the Jordan Valley here, where you see Jericho, that's one of the oldest continuously inhabited towns on earth, 11,500 years. And now it's in a desert, basically, thanks to the Israeli colonial policy of diversion of water. So the Jordan River, which used to flow at 1,350 million cubic meters per year, now flows at 20 million cubic meters per year. That's barely a stream. You can walk across it, and this resulted in desertification of the area. This is, again, not because they need the water or anything else. It's because they want to deny the indigenous people their water. So that's what we have with water, for example, in the West Bank. We actually have more rainfall in Ramallah than in London, but most of our water is taken. I haven't had water in my house, running water coming from the municipality, which is what a municipality just, it's controlled by the Israeli Mekorot company. We haven't had that water coming for 2-3 weeks almost now. Anyways, they take our water, they steal it from under our feet, they supply the settlements, or they even dump it into the sea so that they can deny the indigenous people water. The theft of natural resources is common in the global north. Devastation of the global south. So you all are familiar with this. Now they're stealing the gas fields off the coast of Gaza. One of the richest gas and oil fields in the world is off the Mediterranean coast. This was taken by Israel by this colonial project. The Gaza Strip is a case study of amazing proportion for the level of cruelty that colonizers go through. not only did they manage to kill and injure some 12 to 15% of the population, and ethnically cleanse most of all of the population, actually. Nearly 2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are homeless now, living in tents. Gaza Strip is an area of about 365 square kilometers. It used to have 2.3 million people, but now probably around 2 million people is what's left. But anyways, those 2 million people are all homeless, and because Israel destroyed all their homes methodically and intentionally, just blew them up, destroyed them to try and make Gaza uninhabitable. Another way they tried to make Gaza uninhabitable is to destroy all the tree cover in Gaza, and we did remote sensing study. You can see this from our research that we submitted, got published a few months ago. It covered just the first year of destruction of trees in Gaza. And in the first year of this accelerated genocide on Gaza, they destroyed the majority of the trees in Gaza. In some places like North Gaza, in the first year, it was 94% destruction. But, of course, this is the first year. You can see month by month destruction. But of course, there has been a second year, and now it's almost 25 months, 26 months, 25 months now. So in these 25 months, essentially all the tree cover in Gaza was destroyed. All the greenhouses in Gaza were destroyed now. I won't go through that. But also, this is from a study by The Lancet, by the Guardian, newspaper. They contracted some researchers to look into how much greenhouse gases were emitted by the Israeli jets flying to bomb Gaza. In the first 60 days only, Israel produced more greenhouse gases just from jets flying than the Central African Republic produced in all its other productions, everything from kitchens to automobiles to industries, trains, whatever. This is the first 60 days or first 2 months. We're now at month 25. If you actually extrapolate, and actually it was worse in some months, like when they attacked Iran and Lebanon and Syria and Yemen. They attacked 7 countries, not just the Gaza Strip. If you add up all the jet fuel production from Israeli attacks on the people of our region, Western Asia, in the past 25 months, it would be more than what Spain produced as greenhouse gas emissions from all its sources, not just the military of Spain. This is just the military of Israel. There's a picture from Bethlehem, an icon on the left. A picture on the right is a woman in Gaza with her child because Jesus was born here. My family is Palestinian Christian, so I like to show these kinds of pictures. There's again an icon on the right of Mother Mary and Jesus after he was crucified, and in Gaza, a woman and her son. Okay, now I will reiterate again, following my major advisor's advice, I will reiterate the bottom line. Why is this important? Why should you care wherever you are in different countries? Well, it's important because of the things I mentioned in the beginning, that this is a very critical area for geopolitically, it's a critical area. It's connectivity between Eurasia and Africa. It's critical because of the religious dimension. It's critical because of many other reasons I mentioned already. But there is a couple of others I didn't mention. One is that Palestine, at this stage, is a unique genocide in human history. There has never been a genocide like this in several key features. Of course, humans had several genocides, holocausts, Armenian Holocaust, the Holocaust of that happened of Jews and Gypsies and communists and socialists and others in Nazi Germany during the Second World War. There was genocide in Rwanda, there was genocide in the Congo by the Belgian government, King Leopold and all that. There are many genocides. There are hundreds of genocides in the past 300 years only. So why is this unique? Well, it's unique for several things. One is it's not perpetuated by one government, the Nazi government, for example, or the Belgian government in Congo. It's perpetuated by a number of governments, including the US government, the French government, the British government, the German government. They're all directly participating in it. Number two is it's being done live, basically, because of technology available to everybody now with these phones, smartphones and stuff. Even though they killed, as I mentioned, 254 journalists, anybody is a citizen journalist records their own even killing, their own murder of their own families, their own destruction of their houses, etc. So nobody can claim they didn't know about this. You know, some Germans said, well, we didn't know what was going on in the concentration camps. And the Allies even had them forced come to see the concentration camps. So in this case, you don't have to deny it, and you don't have to bring people to see the aftermath of it. It's broadcast live. It's available to everybody to see. The third point here is it's happening at a time in world history where we have nuclear weapons, and we have weapons so advanced, and also even technologies like drones that anybody can manufacture if you want and cause significant destruction. And so a war that spreads, that as most wars spread, by the way, they become regional wars and then they become global wars. This one already spread and is a regional war. We had round one of it. Now we're going to have round two of this war as a regional war, and then it will spread to a global war. And when it comes a global war, not like World War I or World War II, where there were winners and losers, even though I think everybody was a loser ultimately in wars, everybody is a loser. But it will be even more apparent in this next war, where everybody is not only a loser, but is eliminated. So we may have an extinction of the so-called civilization as we know it. There may be a left human population in remote islands and so on that escaped the nuclear holocaust. But cockroaches will be winners because they're resistant to radiation. And as a biologist, I say maybe it's time for cockroaches to take over this planet, since we humans didn't take care of it and destroyed it. The fourth point I want to make about this is that this genocide has a global ramifications because the Zionist movement is a global movement. It's not a local movement. We're not in a fight with Zionists here in Palestine. People in New York are in a fight with the Zionist movement. That's why they finally elected somebody who's not Zionist, Mamdani, as New York was being destroyed by the Zionist movement before that. So I think there's changes in the world, and they have to happen because we cannot allow the greedy people And when I say Zionist, by the way, I don't mean just Jewish Zionists. There are Christian Zionists. For example, Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a white supremacist. He even did the Nazi salute, you know. But he's slated to become, he wants to be the first human trillionaire, meaning $1 trillion, $1,000 billion in money. He already has $500 billion, enough, of course, to cure world hunger, with a fraction of that, actually. But anyways, that's the level of greed that we get from these Zionists who are racist, who think, you know, in terms of, you know, they are so Islamophobic. And my family is a Christian family, by the way. I'm not Muslim. But they are Islamophobic. They are against people of color, brown people, black people, Chinese people, anybody. They are against those. So this is why it's a critical phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon. You know, Clara asked me to also speak a little bit about our institute, the Palestinian Institute for Biodiversity and Sustainability. Our vision is basically opposed, the opposite of that vision of the greedy colonialists who want to just get more natural resources, and they don't care if there's genocide happening in Sudan because they need the gold of Sudan. That's what's important. So they fund the people who commit the genocide, as long as they keep control of the gold mines for the Western world and the US and United Arab Emirates, which is their proxy government, basically doing their dirty job in Sudan. That's what they do, is for money, for resources. So our vision is the opposite of that. Our vision is sustainable human and natural communities. And the humans are, of course, mostly the indigenous people. That's most of the world anyway. And those are the people whose resources are being stolen. So we have many sections here. This is what, you know, drone image of this. I'm not allowed to have a drone. Don't tell on me, please, but I did have a drone. But anyways, these are children in the garden. We have Museum of Natural History. We have ethnography museum. We do field work. We do research on our plants and animals. We take our education via the mobile educational unit to children around the West Bank and remote area. These are handicapped children also who enjoyed, of course, our activities. We have activities that are always touch hands-on for the children. We also work on animal rehabilitation. We work on national strategies. We have in situ and ex situ conservation of plants and animals. We have a group called Palestine Action for the Planet, which is part of Extinction Rebellion, Greta Thunberg group and all that. As you know, Greta Thunberg was also mistreated by Israel because she works on the blockade of Gaza. She was on the ships that tried to break the blockade. So we do activities with women, like workshops to produce products and sell them, whether food or cosmetics or anything else. So we help them market these products. We have a community garden, and where we work on food sovereignty. Our volunteers came from 47 countries. I actually have 3 volunteers sitting here listening to me from 3 different countries. Maybe we now need to update the 47 countries. Add Egypt and add Tunisia and couple of others. But anyways, this is what volunteers do. We have good food. I always tell them to eat. They don't listen to me. But we have a new museum and we need help in this new museum. We need help in many areas, so you can come and volunteer. We offer room and board for volunteers. This is our website and our email. So please join us. Email me also so that I can get your email contact and we can stay in touch. Yeah, I can put you on our email list if you choose. We send a message every week that explains these kinds of connectivities and also puts action items that people can do. Thank you for your time, and sorry I took a little longer than what I meant, but 5 minutes longer.
Thank you, Mazin. Thank you very much for that insightful and loads of information there that probably many people didn't know about. Certainly I didn't know about lots of the things that you have said in the time being. I would like to thank the audience for being here and for all the questions, and also my colleagues in Gaza who have been very helpful and you know been championing this course. And thank you to Jenny Sturdy and Joe Buchanan who have helped us to organize the technical side of things. Professor Mazin Qumsiyeh, thank you again, and hopefully we will hear from you in the future. This has been a very insightful talk, and it has opened, it's broken the silence to talk about Gaza as it is by a Palestinian. So hopefully we can only increase on this kind of talks. Thank you very much and goodbye.